A small home-based synagogue is fighting for its life in far north Dallas, and the outcome could potentially affect other groups that worship in homes. Dallas first demanded congregation Toras Chaim get a city certificate to operate in this home, and then sued when the group didn't comply. The congregation says the cost is simply too high.
It's about $200,000 in changes. For the 20 families who are members in the synagogue, we could never afford it.
As Rabbi Yaakov Rich explains, it's more than paying for a piece of paper.
It would mean shutting down the synagogue and forcing everybody literally to sell their homes and to move somewhere else.
That's because they all have to be close enough to walk.
You see, in Orthodox Judaism, we are not allowed to drive on the Sabbath. And so if the synagogue couldn't be within walking distance, then everybody would have to relocate to where the synagogue was.
Members here are upset because they feel they're just a small group of religious believers meeting privately in a home, no different than the small groups or home groups that thousands of Christian churches have all over the country.
And the pressure goes beyond the government.
Since the city brought their lawsuit, there's been vandalism, there have been swastikas spray painted, one on the rabbi's car, on fences around the area, and it's really just created a hostile environment.
Justin Butterfield is the lead counsel fighting for the congregation.
If they can shut this small Orthodox Jewish congregation down, they can shut down the prayer meeting, the Bible study, even the person who just has some friends over for dinner.
We realized very quickly that this had really national implications in terms of setting precedent for law and religious liberty in the United States.
But some in the area see it differently. They feel they were promised they'd live in a strictly residential situation, and they've ended up with a busy synagogue as a neighbor.
They do services 2 times a day, 7 days a week, so they're a very active congregation, which is wonderful, but that also means a lot of foot traffic, a lot of car traffic as well.
That and the potential for falling property values prompted David Schneider, who lives across the street, to lead a neighborhood lawsuit against Toras Chaim. He's quick to say none of his objections are anti-Semitic.
You can be opposed to something a synagogue does without being opposed to the synagogue itself.
Sure.
Rich says that local attack really hurt.
The amount of anxiety having a lawsuit, a major lawsuit, that quite possibly the synagogue might have to close down and the members of the community would have to sell their homes and move somewhere else. It was just too much to bear.
Short-term relief came when a judge dismissed the neighborhood lawsuit. Then the city sued. The rabbi tries to face it with humor.
I was running out of material to speak about on the Sabbath morning, and so the city sued us, and now I have new stuff to talk about again.
CBN News headed to City Hall looking for comment on camera.
No one from the city attorney's office would speak with CBN News, but they did release a statement saying the city of Dallas does not restrict the location of synagogues and other places of worship anywhere in the city. Places of worship, however, are not exempt from complying with city ordinances.
Dallas wants a second front entrance, a sprinkler system installed, larger handicap-compliant bathrooms, and more.
They are asking us to put 13 parking spots on the property, I don't know where. And the interesting thing is that on the Sabbath, nobody drives, nobody parks on the street, you'll never find a car.
Those fighting for Toras Chaim say Dallas should drop the fight, or a judge might step in and make the city pay.
I pointed them to some previous cases. There was one a couple years ago in Los Angeles that resulted in an almost $1 million verdict against the city.
That's little comfort to Rabbi Rich as he and his friends face this second lawsuit.
Going up against the city has the perception of something much bigger and much worse.
No matter the merits of this case, who's right, who's wrong, who wins, who loses, what's not in dispute is the fact that the very existence of the small religious group that meets in this home is on the line. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from far north Dallas.